Good morning, everybody, and welcome back into JumpStart Sports. Jay's got his Knicks jersey rocking. I'm clearly moved on to football season. Jay, how we doing, buddy?
Dude, we're good, man. It's been a couple weeks. Nothing that significant has happened, truthfully. But we'll get into some good stuff and some news in the NBA. Um, the draft lottery just happened yesterday. We'll talk about that a little bit. And yeah, dude, I'm just excited to get going. Bring some
Yeah,
energy this morning. Woo!
I'm still in mourning from the Sixers, so I've moved on to football season. I think you can start to kind of get that whiff of football season coming around the corner. So let's start off the show hot and get some football topics going.
All right, let's do that. It's been a couple weeks, so some of this is a little bit on the older
Outdated.
side of news, but it's still worth talking about. I feel like
Yeah, it's juicy information.
it's juicy. So Ryan Tannehill, he this kind of brings up a larger conversation. So he mentioned that, um, to his own reporters that he doesn't feel like he should mentor Malik Willis, who was the third round pick of the Titans this past year. And what's so interesting about this is I feel like this kind of thing happens a lot in the NFL, specifically sports world, where like quarterbacks don't really want to mentor their backups that were drafted ultimately probably to replace them, similar to like how a Jordan Love, Aaron Rodgers didn't feel the need to do the same. Do you feel like a quarterback should mentor their backup / maybe replacement, or do you think it's kind of inappropriate? Like, how do you feel about it? Because I don't know. Like, I think it could go both ways, really.
Yeah, I agree with that. It could go both ways. It really depends on the situation, in my opinion. So with this Tannehill situation, I think his response is just like immature, in my opinion. Um, yeah, there's coaches there for that, and it's not really his job. But at the same time, it's like the guy only has a couple years left in the NFL, in my opinion. I think, it just takes a couple. The Titans are a great football team, so he's in a great situation. But you put Tannehill on a bad football team, nobody's, giving him two looks. But as, a savvy vet in this league, I think it is his job to want to, you know, mentor Willis, to kind of just take him under his wing and help him out. But there is the other side of it too, where if it's a quarterback that's like, I don't want to mentor this guy if he's just going to take my, job. So I don't know if Tannehill's looking at it from that perspective, but I think any quarterback should be willing to kind of teach the younger generation, take them under their wing, and just do the best job that they can with them. But that's why I think Tannehill was just getting so much heat, and Willis was like, it kind of is what it is. He has respect for him still, but kind of immature on Tannehill's side, if you ask me about it. What do you think?
I feel like it could go both ways. In this situation, it's not like I kind of think that because Malik Willis was, much further down in a third round pick, I feel like it's less likely he's his backup, so he should be more willing, or sorry, that he's his replacement, so he should be more willing to take him under his wing. But I've read a lot of stuff. Some people think that it's like inappropriate to take to mentor his future replacement, which I guess I could see that. I think I don't know. I kind of feel like he should be able to do that for, like you said. I mean, Tannehill's a great quarterback. Don't get me wrong, but like him on another team probably isn't even close to being what he is on the Titans, just because their offense is so revolved around Derrick Henry's bull rushing, and if they don't have that, what do they have, right? So
Yeah, and
I
it's
mean,
interesting. It's interesting because I disagree with you on the fact that you say since he was a third round pick, he's less likely to take over Tannehill's job, because he was supposed to be a first round pick, and not really sure why he slipped so much to the third round. That really surprised a lot of people. But
yeah,
um, I don't know. I was never big on him, just kind of coming out of Liberty, but he still has so much talent.
Liberty.
Um, the floor's set pretty high for him. The bar's set pretty high for him, but I still think he could, have a lot of. I think he could have a very successful career in the NFL. He could prove a lot of people wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Could very well end up being one of those quarterbacks that not Tom Brady-esque, but like, proves you wrong. Like, you should have taken me earlier. You really messed this up. And him and Derrick Henry could maybe one day be a big 1-2 punch, but we'll just kind of have to see.
Maybe. Yeah, we'll see. Malik is definitely a project. He could be amazing. He always had the highest upside of anyone in this class, in this entire QB class. But whether he hits that, that remains to be seen. We'll see. You're right though. Like if he can become a professional, that is he's kind of like a Lamar Jackson light with better arm strength, roughly. That might be a little ambitious to say. Lamar also has a really good arm strength, but he's like a Lamar Jackson light, and he's incredibly fast. I wish he ran the 40. I don't know why all of these guys who are so goddamn quick at quarterback don't run the 40. I wish they did. I want to see what they would run so badly. So that's a side note, but anyway. So in another piece of news, this is probably one of the biggest things that's actually happened in the broadcasting world. Tom Brady signing one of the most insane deals, probably the most lucrative contract that has ever existed, with Fox being the lead analyst whenever he decides to retire. 10 years, $375 million. What do you think of this? I mean, this is kind of interesting because does this say he's retiring after this year? And then the funniest thing is Fox has the Super Bowl this year. So do you think Greg Olson's actually done this during like bye weeks? Do you think that if the Bucks don't make the Super Bowl, that he's actually going to get thrown into the ring for the Super Bowl for broadcasting?
I just don't think you can trust anything at this point because Brady could have one more season left in him. He could have another 3 seasons left in him. So you just kind of, it's one of those things you can't predict. You just have to wait and see. Like maybe, who knows if he wins the Super Bowl, does he go out on top? What if he gets hurt? Because he hasn't he hasn't really sustained a very serious injury in a long time, but like he is old on the older side. So like all it takes is one big hit from Aaron Donald and it could end his career. But Brady's so talented and he came out of retirement for a reason. I don't think he came out just to play one more season. I think he's going to keep going. The contract though is just like
it's bonkers.
It's unbelievable to me because I'm not saying he's so versatile in the football world and he knows so much about football that I'm sure he'll be a great broadcaster, but he just hasn't. Again, at least I haven't seen him do like a play-by-play in a game yet. So it's just like, how do you know how good he's really going to be? But it's just one of those things. It's like, would you give LeBron James like a contract like that just because he knows so much about basketball, but it doesn't necessarily mean he'd be a good broadcaster. But that's kind of
a fair comparison.
It's kind of up for debate. Yeah. And then you look at Tony Romo, for example. He got, I think it was 17.5 million for 10 years. And Brady gets what, 37.5 for 10 years. And it's like, I think Tony Romo is a great broadcaster. So
he's probably the best one that is.
Yeah, exactly. Right yeah. Exactly. So what do you think about this? Why do you think that they decided to give him this unreal record breaking contract when he hasn't even like proven that he can do the job yet?
Well, I think it's multiple reasons. I mean, not that Fox necessarily needs this, but I mean, it's all about the allure of Tom Brady calling a game, right? Like the greatest of all time, calling a game. Like, why wouldn't you tune in to see what he has to say? I do think it's probably some, predictions that he'll hopefully end up like Tony Romo because apparently in some interviews, Tom Brady has said that like on air, he has, held back. This will also be kind of an interesting dynamic too, is how much do you say about a team that you've played for? So like say like the Buccaneers Patriots are playing on a random Thursday night football. Nope, that doesn't make sense. Let's just say it's a Sunday game. So if they're playing and Tom Brady's broadcasting and he's had experience with both Belichick and who's it, Todd Bowles, for the Bucks, but he's had past experience with both organizations. Does he reveal anything about either one of those. I honestly can't remember if Tony Romo has ever done that with the Cowboys. But that's kind of like an interesting, like, when is it too far of what you can say about each franchise that you've played for? Because I'm
Yeah.
sure Belichick hasn't really changed anything about his offense.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure he'd say a lot of information and stories that he knows, but at the same time, I went to journalism school, and as a reporter, um, you're like taught to be unbiased, and you're not supposed to like reveal stuff like that. So it's just like I don't think Brady would do that on live television to just like give away plays or give away what's going to happen, but um, definitely like what Romo's done, which has been very impressive. How Romo just like predicted certain plays happening. He
Yeah.
didn't. That obviously wasn't for the Cowboys, but like that was just very impressive because he just has such a high football IQ.
Yeah.
And somebody else pointed this out to me the other day. Tony Romo is, one of the best broadcasters in football. Drew Brees has done an exceptional job in the 1 or 2 years that he's been a broadcaster.
I think it's only one.
Yeah, I think it was just one. Worked his way up from college to the NFL. He called games. But Romo wasn't like an elite quarterback, but they still like because of his IQ and football IQ and his history, they gave him the opportunity. And I'm sure he has like experience in some manner because there's so many like you look at all the NBA broadcasters, a lot of them didn't really have broadcasting experience, but they're so knowledgeable about the game that it just kind of secures them a job, secures them the bag.
That's true. Like
So I
JJ
think
Redick.
exactly, great example. So I think like that similar thing with Brady. It's like who knows how good of a broadcaster he really is, but he just has such a high football IQ and he's literally the GOAT. So it's like why wouldn't you want to have him on live television?
I totally agree with that. I mean, the money seems excessive, but if you're trying to lock up the greatest player ever, I guess it checks. Like if Michael Jordan for the NBA, I guess your example for LeBron, I guess, is also pretty valid because people put him into that same GOAT category. Is that like what do you think Tom or LeBron will get? I mean, not that money. NBA broadcasters do not make that much money or television personalities, but LeBron would also probably provide a really interesting insight into like how plays are developing and stuff like that. JJ Redick is like probably one of my favorite broadcasters at present day. I think he's like so unbiased and the opinions that he does bring are really valid with facts behind them. And I feel like a lot of these shows, like First Take just spews a bunch of nonsense, and Undisputed is just to watch Skip go, or sorry, just to watch Shannon go, Skip, or however I can't do a good accent. And also Skip doesn't know anything.
Yeah. So Jay, I wanted to pose a question for you because I mentioned earlier with the broadcasters how Drew Brees did a great job in his first year as a broadcaster. So recently there was like talk about he must have put up a tweet just about how the Saints got Jarvis Landry, they got Tyrann Mathieu, and he must have said something along the lines of like, these guys being on the team makes me want to play for them again. Do you think that's just like stirring the pot, or do you think there's a real possibility that Drew Brees could come back?
I gotta find his tweet
and pull a Tom Brady.
So let me see his exact tweet. All right, he said. So this is after rumors came out already that NBC was not going to retain him for this year, and he said, despite speculation from media about my future this fall, I'm currently undecided. I may work for NBC. I may play football again. I may focus on business and philanthropy. I may train for the pickleball tour. Respect. Senior golf tour. Coach my kids, or all of the above. I'll let you know. So people, I honestly think this is all about nothing. That's how I really do believe that this, and it's so funny because you look at our Dynasty app, for example, Sleeper, and Drew Brees is the number one person that has been picked up since this has been said. Yeah. And it's just so ridiculous to me because the Saints coach already said, like, we've had no conversations about that. Drew Brees is obviously just saying that to say that, but people run with it immediately,
Oh yeah.
including us. Like we're talking about it right now, right? Like I hope he's a part of the pickleball tournament, but he is not. Like he had a significant fall off in his career towards the end. Like he was not throwing the ball as far. It was obvious. Like I'm pretty sure his average depth per target was like super super down, especially his last 2 years, which works when you have guys like Michael Thomas and Alvin Kamara, but like Michael Thomas is iffy. Like, and also they're rolling the dice with Drew Brees. Or sorry, Jameis Winston. So I think it's all about nothing. I think he just knew that someone else broke the news before him, and I think maybe he'll go somewhere else for broadcasting. I'm not sure where else has openings. Truthfully, maybe like Amazon. Did Amazon? No, Amazon Prime also has two, don't they?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know where he'll go. But I think he'll maybe take a year off from it or something. Maybe he'll go to Fox and wait while Tom Brady's still playing. That's
Yeah.
possible.
I personally hate when players come out of retirement. It's just like I know it's kind of not it's easier said than done and they can't always predict what's gonna happen. But I wish there was like something in like their contract where like they announce like they have to announce that this is gonna be their final year of football. So that they can like, give them their farewell tour and give them the goodbye that they deserve. You look at like Peyton Manning, for example, he knew it was time to hang it up and after he gave that Forrest Gump ended on that Forrest Gump goodbye speech. He
Yeah,
couldn't
nah.
he couldn't come back after that.
Yeah, that's just a win.
But I just think like if Breeze is going to come back, this is the year. Last year they were not a good football team, the Saints. This year, I didn't like going into it. I didn't think they were going to be good this year either. I just don't think Jameis is the guy. I doubt he'll play a full season. Who knows what's going to happen? But I think if Drudels were to give it one more go, this is the year. Just with hopefully Michael Thomas finally coming back. You had add Jarvis Landry and Chris Olave. Hopefully Alvin Kamara can figure out all his off field issues and just have a great bounce back year. And if he wanted to give it one more ride off into the sunset, I think this is his year to do it. But if not, he'll just, like you said, stay in the broadcasting field and keep whacking that pickleball.
Drew Breezy Breeze. Trudels. Yeah. And also in some other news, this one hurt. This one's close to the vest here. James Bradbury. It was inevitable. We knew it was going to happen. He was cut by Joe Shane. It was and the Giants. They had to. It was a cap saving move. They were in cap hell from Gettleman. So I actually think that the job that he's done is insane for what they've had. And he's still a very quality starter. He had a down year for sure, but he's a very quality outside corner for a team that might need him. Giants apparently had multiple deals in place, but James Bradbury wasn't willing to lower his amount of money that he was guaranteed. So ultimately, he gets released. He's now free to go where he wants. Where do you think he'll go? I mean, there's some interesting fits that some have been brought up, like the Panthers, the Eagles have been brought up, which would make me actually vomit. The Chiefs, the Raiders. The Raiders, I don't know if they'll still do that after they traded for Rocky Sin. But like that's just because of the Patriots and whatever. But what do you think? Oh, and the Patrick Graham defense.
Yeah, well, the devil on my shoulder is telling me
Get away from him.
He's going to go to the Eagles because we love to see Jason in pain, but the angel on my shoulder is telling me that he could go to a team like the Chiefs. I'm honestly surprised. It's been a week since they released him, and
I thought it was Monday where he clears waivers. So
yeah.
I'm confused, to be honest.
If it's because he hasn't cleared waivers yet, I'm surprised that there hasn't been any talk about a team trying to take a shot at him because he has a lot of talent. Like you said, he had a little bit of a down year last year, but still a guy with a lot of upside and can bring a lot to the football field, and a lot of defenses that could really use him. So, especially with losing Tyrann Mathieu, I think it makes sense for the Chiefs to want to go after him.
Yeah, I think it makes a lot of sense for the Chiefs. They just traded up to get who was a Trey McDuffie, I believe, in the draft. But they still have holes. L'Jarius Sneed is a good player, but they need help and depth.
Yeah, and the Chiefs I feel like have always struggled at the cornerback position.
I
So
agree with that.
I
They
think that
always have.
they could definitely use someone like Mr. Bradbury.
Yeah, and these are kind of, we can kind of roll through pretty quick, but the Dolphins sign Sony Michel, so now they have 5 running backs. It's like they and the Seahawks both have 5 running backs that have all
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I just feel like the Dolphins are not going to have any type of run game, and
You think?
they're just going to be relying on throwing the ball to Cheetah and why am I blanking
Jalen
on
Waddle.
why am I blank Jalen Waddle? Sorry, yes, Jalen Waddle, Mike Gesicki. Like as long as Tua can step it up and yeah, as long as Tua can step it up and do his job, there's no need for them to have any type of run game as they really haven't had any type of run game since Jay Ajayi.
They've had some really weird. So like the fact that Salvin Ahmed and Miles Gaskin were their starting running backs and undrafted and 7th round running back for entire years. And now they sign Raheem Mostert, who inevitably will get injured week 1.
Yep. It's inevitable.
It is. Chase Edmonds. I really like Chase Edmonds as a player, but like
he had so much upside on the Cardinals, and then he just kind of lost that job to James Conner.
Yeah.
Didn't really do much last season.
Yeah, and he's smaller too, and I feel like the Sony Michel one, like for some reason you could just see, like, I don't know how, but Sony Michel will be the one who somehow comes out of this like as the lead running back for no reason.
Wasn't it when Cam Akers got hurt, obviously, and he was out for the year, and then Darrell Henderson went down, and Sony Michel did pretty well for the Rams in those games.
He actually did do really well. You know, Sony Michel is one of the most weird cases of an NFL player, because when he was coming out of Georgia, it was Nick Chubb and him. They were a tandem in Georgia. And Nick Chubb was coming off a major injury, and he was like, he's still incredible. He went to the Browns 2nd round. And the thing with him is he was like a bruiser back, right? Sony Michel was actually the one that was considered like the scat back, which is like the 3rd down back, who is a very good pass catcher, and he's very elusive. He compared himself to, I'll never forget it. He compared himself to Shady McCoy when he was coming out. But now it's like he's been pigeonholed into a 1st and 2nd down grinder and goal line back, which is so weird because he's so small. Like, it's such a weird, like, I don't understand his career arc. I mean, it makes sense for like the Patriots selected him and didn't know what to do with him. The Patriots also have about 4 backs, and they selected 2 this year, and they selected 1 last year, and they have Damian Harris. Like, it's such a disaster.
Yeah, there are a lot of teams like that too. I just don't understand it. Even the Eagles, for example, Miles Sanders is their starter, but they have like 3 or 4 other running backs. So it's just like, I get it's a very it's a position that you need a lot of depth in for sure, but I don't get, you always like look to that one guy that you need for 100 yards a game, and when you have 5 different guys you're juggling between, it just doesn't make for a good recipe, in my opinion.
It's so weird. This one hurts. Do you see the Tariq Cohen video?
Yeah, he's coming off the ACL injury, and that's just like horrible luck. I can just explain it really quickly, Jay. He's on Instagram Live, just kind of working his ass off, working hard to get back in shape. He was going, in and out of those what would you call them? Just little hurdles, I guess you could call them.
I don't know what you call them.
I don't know what you call those things, but they're just kind of like
little not athletes.
Yeah, they're just, hey, speak for yourself. I was a Division III tennis player.
I was allowed to be a Division III tennis player, but I did not play.
But yeah, he's just going in and out, quick feet through the his little hurdles, and he tears his Achilles. Not a fun injury, not an easy injury to bounce back from. And
Mhm.
the second he went down, he knew something was wrong. And it's just like, what the irony in that? You're just showing your fans and the viewers how hard you're working to get back, and it's like
It's
this
yeah,
is I'm not trying to take a jab at Tariq Cohen at all, but like, why are you working so hard to get back to the Bears? They're such a bad football team. They're
he's
gonna
free
be
agent.
they're gonna be a bad team. Oh, he's a free agent.
They released him.
Well, that's for the best for him then, because he didn't need to work his ass off to get back to a team that's gonna stink again this year. But you feel bad for him. You feel for the guy. He's always been one of those scrappy fantasy guys that you like to have in your flex. 'Cause he's just so quick. But you feel bad for him.
It's sad. In the video, you could hear the pop.
Yeah.
It's so unfortunate, especially for a guy working back from. It was actually two things. I think it was in ACL and something else. But yeah, so it's unfortunate. But um,
I feel terrible just because, not that I can relate to that in any way, and I'm sure you've had your fair share of injuries, Jay, with your wrist and everything and your ankles. But
yeah,
I hurt my ankle recently playing basketball, and I haven't played for a month, and I miss playing so much, and I still am not like quite there yet. And it just makes you think, like Derrick Rose, for example, you work so hard after an injury to get back on
Mhm.
the court and to finally get back out there, and then it's like a mental thing too, because you have to just be like, I'm not going to get hurt again. I can't worry about getting hurt. I have to just go out there and do what I'm capable of doing, and the rest is out of my control. And to just work so hard to get back there from his ACL injury to tear his Achilles, Tariq
Yeah.
Cohen, it's just you feel bad for him. There's
That's
nothing else to it.
what reminds me of that is like I was, I mean, this is kind of like a forgotten name at this point, but Paris Campbell, he has a YouTube channel and it for some reason came up on my recommended. I was like, I don't know, I was just watching. I was bored. I was watching it, and it was interesting. It was talking about like he gets injured all the freaking time. Like
Mhm.
that's actually been his problem. Like he was teammates with Terry McLaurin in Ohio State. He was drafted before him to the Colts, and he was supposed to be the better player, and you know he just kept getting injured. He's obviously got loads of talent, but he was just injured, injured, injured. And he's talking about his favorite play in which he came back. He was working back from like an ACL tear or whatever, and working to get back on the field, and he makes this incredible catch touchdown. Right, it was like a 40-yard touchdown pass this past year, and on the touchdown pass broke his foot. Like it's like you just can't catch a break.
Don't
It's
leave
like
don't leave out the fact of who threw him the touchdown.
I left that out for a reason.
Ginger Jesus.
How is he still have a job? My God.
Hey,
Um,
I just have November 16th circled on my calendar. He comes back to the link, and he's gonna get booed hard. Not that he deserves it, but he's gonna get booed hard.
oh, he'll get booed. We have to figure out when we're gonna go to our game.
Boo!
The Eagles Giants games are really late this year.
They always are, because they're just the worst teams to watch.
Yeah.
So
Well, the one the one at the link I think is the very last week, which won't matter for the Giants at that point. So I don't want to go to that one.
yeah, but we
Um,
came to you guys, so it's only right that you come to us,
yeah,
even
but
if we're freezing
going
our butts off and watching an atrocity of a game.
going to the link is not safe for the Giants fans who are loud.
It's fair.
Um, so the other things. Oh, this is actually like the last really interesting piece of news, and then we'll kind of move from this to the NBA. Deshaun Watson is set to meet with the NFL to just it's kind of like to discuss the final steps of this investigation on him. And the decision, supposedly, according to Ian Rappaport, is coming soon. I have read online that he's going to be projected to be suspended only 3 to 4 weeks, which is like actually kind of crazy.
Yeah.
This is a touchy subject because we don't know the details. It's tough because you'd think usually, the legal system's always innocent until proven innocent until proven guilty.
Mm-hmm.
But 22 lawsuits. He's obviously something. He's a horrible person. Like something happened. I think. In part of like a football analysis, though, Deshaun Watson, like, what does this mean for Baker Mayfield? I bet you didn't think I was going there.
No, I did not. You hit me with the right hook.
And a left jab.
I'm gonna give my opinion. I'm gonna give my opinion
Yeah.
from a football perspective, and then just like an outside perspective. From the outside perspective, you can't have any respect for him. Like you said, we don't know all the details of what exactly happened, but it's just kind of crazy how he goes from potentially not playing another snap for a very long time to nothing. He just doesn't get, everything's like off the table to now he's going to get something, which like he does deserve to get some kind of suspension.
Yeah.
They just kind of have to figure out the nitty-gritty details, but it just doesn't make sense to me. Like he is so talented. He's a top 5 quarterback in this league.
Yeah.
But it's just so crazy to me how you get in this trouble, 22 cases. It's not like it's a couple, 22 lawsuit cases. So something doesn't add up here. And then you go from that to literally, getting kicked out of Houston to making more money, getting a new contract that gives you more money than it did originally.
More guaranteed money ever.
Yeah. It just, and he hasn't, like, I'm not saying he's lost a step, but he hasn't played in almost 2 seasons. So it just doesn't really add up to me. But from the football perspective, looking at Baker, I thought after his goodbye speech and just how his season ended, I thought his days in Cleveland were done.
Yep.
And he probably in his eyes still sees himself as a starting quarterback. So, who knows? Keeping him around maybe it was a beneficial thing. And I don't know. Let's put this hypothetical situation together. Let's say Deshaun Watson gets suspended for 5 games or so, and Baker Mayfield goes 5-0 and plays incredible with Amari Cooper and Nick Chubb, and he proves the haters wrong. What do you do in that situation? Most likely, what do you think? Most likely,
trading him. You still have to trade him.
I guess it's even higher trade bait now.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can't be like, you can't not just like
kidding.
Yeah, just kidding. Like we don't really need you, Deshaun. Like we're gonna stay with Baker. Like there's no way they would do that.
No,
obviously, I haven't looked at their Browns schedule, but him going 5-0 just isn't realistic.
No, but also the guaranteed money is like in escrow. Like it's gone. Like they're giving him the money. Baker is out. Like at some point, I still think like there are teams like the Seahawks. Like I mean, unless they're really trying to tank and have Drew Lock start every game, or the Panthers. Like Matt Rule's job is on the line.
Yeah,
they need to make a move. It would not cost them much to get Baker. They just have to eat the salary, which I guess is everyone's gripe right now. But like $18 million for starting quarterback is actually cheap. Yeah. So it's kind of weird. Yeah, I think eventually he'll actually get released. I do think that. I don't think it matters for the Deshaun situation. I think Baker his ego is too high, and I don't think that he will stay, even if they need him, even if Deshaun is suspended. That's why they got Jacoby Brissett, who has also been a starter in this league before. I think Baker's time is going to come to an end.
I agree with that.
All right, man. The moment we've all been waiting for. RJ Barrett.
Jesus.
They do announce it pretty cool at MSG. Anyway, moving on to NBA topics. Let's just go series by series. What do you think?
Yeah. Let's go through the Eastern Conference semifinals results real quick.
Mm-hmm. So first, the Bucks and Celtics, so that series obviously went 7 games.
Mm-hmm.
Celtics won it in Game 7, and they didn't win by just a small margin. They absolutely blew out the Bucks.
Yeah.
I'm glad that I didn't really have a preference of who won here, but like I'm glad the Celtics kind of pulled it out. they played insanely good basketball. The Bucks without Chris Middleton had no answer for Grant Williams, who was just left in the corner over and over and over. But you
Seven
can't leave a
threes.
40% shooter from three in the corner, 50% from the corner threes. Like, what are you doing? I mean, I know they had to because they had to put more focus on Jason Tatum, who has become probably in my opinion, one of the best overall players in the NBA.
Oh yeah,
I think this
superstar in the making.
Yeah, he's 24, which makes me so upset because how far off are we? Like Jesus. But yeah, I mean, what do you think? Do you think they win this with Chris Middleton?
So yes, I do. I do think that they have a better chance at winning it with Chris Middleton. Celtics, I'm not a big Knicks fan, but
Really?
I probably, if there's any team in this league that I really dislike, it's the Celtics, just because of the rivalry and various other reasons. A lot of anger with losing Al Horford, and him going from being a great player on the Celtics to literally doing Jack Diddley on the Sixers to now being a great player again. I'm not a big fan of Marcus Smart, but that's besides the point. I just think, regardless of the hatred that I have for the Celtics, they have the hardest and most impressive path of getting to the NBA Finals, just because of they play the Nets. They're the favorite in that series, but they still sweep them, which was a statement in itself.
Mm-hmm.
They go on to play the Bucks, the defending champs, and I still thought, as good as the Bucks are, the Celtics are the better team in the series. And then just kind of being down 3-1 and coming back and having to win in Milwaukee, and they had a big win there. And without Giannis, this, series would have been a sweep, no doubt. But Giannis was just unstoppable. And then in Game 7 on Sunday, Giannis was just missing everything. He still had a great game, but he was missing everything. They kind of found a way to contain him. Grant Williams hit 8 threes or something. He just wasn't missing. Jason Tatum said after the game, because Grant Williams shot the most shots out of any player on that team that game. He took 16 threes or something.
I think he led the team too in points. I think he led the team in points that game.
Yeah,
too.
I think he had 27 points, and Jason Tatum's that's never happening again. But thank God it happened, because led to a big W. Even these no-name guys like Pritchard, he had a great game.
Peyton Pritchard.
Yeah, Peyton Pritchard hitting these step back threes gives us white boys some hope.
He's from Oregon.
Yeah, but they were just a better team in my opinion in the series. I'm not surprised at all that the Bucks blew the lead. But like you said, if they had Middleton, though, I think it's a very different outcome.
I think so too, because also Middleton would have been on Tatum, and that would have been really tough for him because Middleton is an all-time defender. Giannis, this is I mean, I knew this, but this is such a nuts stat to look at. Giannis was that entire team. And I mean, quite literally, because he had a total. This is a NBA record that no one's talking about because they lost. Giannis had an accumulated total of 237 points, and this is in the 7-game series, which is an average of 33.9. He averaged 33.9 points per game, 14.7 rebounds, and 7.1 assists. Just that's crazy. He's the first player ever in NBA history to average to post 200 points, 100 rebounds, and 50 assists in a series. It's just crazy.
Like you said, he was literally their whole team. He is probably so exhausted and beat right now. Other than maybe Drew Holiday.
Drew Holiday
he wasn't great either, and he had no help. He had Brooke Lopez, who was hurt all year, didn't do anything. Bobby Portis, who was so great last year in the finals, didn't do anything. Grayson Allen got more minutes than he should have gotten, but they kind of had to give him that time.
Pat Connaughton didn't play well.
Pat Connaughton didn't do much. It was all Giannis keeping them in that series.
Mm-hmm. It just kind of shows, the Celtics have a lot of depth, have some depth, and the the Bucks didn't have any. I think losing PJ Tucker was huge for them in the offseason. That would have been another big body that they could have used, and yeah, it just wasn't enough. Which is it was a great series. The last game was not great, but it was cool to
Yeah.
watch Jason Tatum like kind of on the rise.
Yeah. And then talking about the other Eastern Conference series, just to kind of rip this Band-Aid off quickly, the Sixers,
Yes.
they just, they're a headache. They're frustrating, but it was just such a weird roller coaster of a series because they spank us in the first two games, and the second game they didn't really spank us, but they still take a 2-0 series lead. They handle their business at home. If Embiid was in those games, I don't really even know if it would have been a different outcome, to be honest. But not having Embiid in games 1 and 2 hurt. He comes back home, and then it's like I'm like, you know what? Maybe we can win one game at home, but we won both those games pretty easily. So it's like, wow, we have a series on our hands. Like,
Yep.
let's go. Like, let's go back to Miami and put some fight in there. Like, James Harden finally showed up. And then we go to Miami and they absolutely spank us. We didn't stand
Yeah.
we didn't stand a chance. It was humiliating. Like Embiid had no business being out there. You could just see it. Like he was so exhausted. We come back home. We're like, you know what? Let's carry this momentum and try to find a way to even this series up, even if we lose in 7. And Embiid was like, he was on the floor more than he was standing on his feet. Like he just kept falling to the ground. You could see he's just beat up left and right, and he had no help. And that's what like it comes down to. Like you look at the Bucks, for example, you need guys who can support your best player, and nobody supported Giannis. Well, similar thing with the Sixers. Nobody supported Embiid. The thing that pisses me off the most about this, Jay, and you give me your opinion on this, is that the whole Ben Simmons saga. We trade Harden, we give away all of our chips to get Harden, and you bring a guy in where if you flash back to last year, didn't take one shot in the fourth quarter. I think in like any of the games in that series against the Hawks. So you bring Harden in, and you're like, just shoot the ball. Even if you go 0 for 20 in the fourth quarter, just shoot the ball. He scores 11 points in the first half, takes 2 shots in the second half. It's just frustrating. It's very frustrating.
My opinion is so I'll say like I completely agree with you. So the first 2 games it was not even close. The second 2 also was not even close, and I was like, damn, like look, I mean, Embiid is insane talent. No one's denying that. Does he flail? Yes. It is infuriating to watch him, Harden, and Butler in one game. It is like as a basketball fan, it's infuriating to watch that where they just all flail. They always get the call, every one of them. Not and Jimmy Butler's included in that. Jimmy Butler is maybe one of the best in the NBA at doing that.
Yeah.
And it's so infuriating to watch that whole thing. But regardless, that's a part of the game, and it is what it is. And I feel like, and I said this when Harden got traded, I really felt like he lost a step, and I still believe that. I think the Ben Simmons thing makes it worse because of the fact that he only attempted 2 shots, but he has been like not worth what they gave, especially if Ben Simmons turns into like being what he was or something like what he was, if he can ever figure it out with his, whatever's going on with him, injuries and whatever. That will look like a very bad trade for the Sixers, especially because they didn't do anything again this year. This is like the third or fourth year in a row that they made it to the Eastern Conference Semi.
Yeah,
and then
I
lost.
think it's the 4th time in the past 6 years that they've lost in the second round.
And it's a shame. Like that, I mean, again, like objectively, they're a great team. Doc, I thought, was such a loser for everything that he said. How he blamed his old teams. He like threw his old team under the bus, which I thought was crazy. And he feels so attacked by the media that he said, "Oh, like I came to this team and they were nothing," basically. and which isn't true. The Sixers were amazing before he came there too. He was supposed to be the thing that got him over the edge.
Yeah.
So I think watching Doc kind of unravel because of the pressure also was not a good look on him. No one's even talking about that, which is kind of interesting, but like it is really weird.
Yeah.
The Heat were the better team in this series, and they had way more. They had way more depth. They also actually didn't have much. They they have no one has an answer for Embiid when he's healthy. It's truthfully. But it was a close matchup. Sixers ultimately lost in 6. Yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens next year, but Harden's going to be commanding. I don't know if you saw the nonsense that Pat Beverly was saying that
I can't stand that. That was
oh my
so
God.
disrespectful. But
It was so disrespectful to Chris Paul, and on top of that, he also told he's perfect for First Take. Of course, they had him on again. He was saying that he thinks that James Harden should get the Supermax, and he will command something like that. And I think the Sixers, he might even opt into this year. It's possible. I feel like
he doesn't deserve the Supermax, but he obviously needs something. We needed
he's still a great talent. He's just
it's not even that. It's just like after the trade, it's like, what are you gonna like? Imagine that hypothetically, like if we didn't give him a contract he wanted, and he's like, I want out, and it's like it's kind of like Jimmy Butler all over again in a way, and it's just like you just kind of gave away Seth Curry, Andre Drummond, Ben Simmons for nothing.
Does that one hurt?
For Paul Millsap? Like
Jimmy's played so well. Does that hurt? Like watching
it does hurt, but the one thing that pisses me off about it is what he said after the game when he said Tobias over me, because that's not true. That we did not choose Tobias over him. Jimmy did not want to stay. He made that clear. There was no leadership in the locker room. Maybe the Sixers didn't give him the money he wanted, but he wanted a new start. He didn't like he loved playing with Embiid, no doubt, but he didn't like Ben Simmons. He loved playing with JJ, but he just said there's no leadership in the locker room. Brett Brown is just a horrible coach. So he just wanted out. He wanted a new start. He wanted to go to a team where he was going to be the the best player on that team. So at that point, when the decision was made, then they're like, all right, Jimmy's not here, so we're going to give this max contract to Tobias, which was stupid. But, that
Tobias
kind
had
of
a good series, though,
because it wasn't true.
Tobias had a good series.
He did. He finally stepped up, and he had a good year. Like, he didn't meet his expectations, but they're obviously going to keep him around. The offseason is going to be interesting because, in my opinion, it is make or break at this point, I think, for the Sixers. Like, maybe they keep Doc for one more year, keep Harden around, but they need to get another playmaker in the offseason, or else, Maxey took such a huge leap, which was like the best outcome of the season, in my opinion. Yeah. But they need to make moves, and if not, after, flash forward a year, if the same bullshit happens again, Doc's out, Harden probably might not want to stay. And honestly, even though he's a Philly guy, I still don't know why Embiid would want to stay around if this nonsense is happening over and over again.
I don't know. I think Embiid's a lifer. I think he's not going to. But well, as fun as this has been to harp on the Sixers, let's move on. The Suns. This one was crazy to me.
Mm-hmm.
The last thing that I saw coming was the Suns getting blown out in their home stadium in Game 7.
Oh yeah.
You want to speak a little bit on this? Because I actually was mind blown watching this game.
Everyone thought the Suns were going to come home and win Game 7, even before the season started, when they blew the 2-0 series lead and lost 4 straight to the Bucks. Mm-hmm. I thought they were going to bounce back this year, and I don't know if they were going to win, but just to get back to the finals, that was my prediction. And they had a 3-2 series lead, and then I think that's when they pissed Luka off and said, and he's like, everyone's, what did he say? Like, everyone's hype when they're up.
Everyone talks when they're up.
Everyone talks shit when they're up. And went back to Dallas, handled his business, and came to Phoenix, and they just couldn't stop him. He was just as good as, if not better than, Giannis was in that Bucks Celtics series. he scored 30 plus points. I'm pretty sure in every single game. We have to check that, but he was just unbelievable that whole series. They had no answer for him. Mikal Bridges had no answer for him. And then in that final game, it was humiliating. They had 50 points, I think it was by the fourth quarter, and
It was a 50-point deficit by
yeah,
the fourth quarter.
Oh, it was at halftime. Luka had more points than the Suns did.
Yes, and
And
they asked him about it, and he
yeah,
said he's like, "Oh, I know."
Chris Paul didn't show up at all this series, and it's the same thing with Harden. Chris Paul was great this year, but he's not the Chris Paul he used to be. Devin Booker, you expected more out of him. I think he had 11 points, like something like that. He didn't do anything. DeAndre Ayton didn't do anything. They ended up benching him.
That's crazy to me.
Yeah, and then just their surrounding guys who have been great all year, like Bridges, Cam Johnson, Landry Shamet, who was pretty good. They didn't step up at all. They didn't do anything, and very, very surprising. But the way they played, they didn't deserve to win that series. I think they matched up better, and we're going to give a better series to the Warriors. I could be wrong, but I think the Warriors are absolutely going to spank Dallas.
You think so? I think
do.
if you asked me this a while ago, I would have agreed with you 100%. But my God, the Mavericks have blown my mind at what they have done this during this playoff run. I mean, he didn't score 30 in their loss. He scored 28. Oh no. All right, I don't know why I'm going game by game. This is so stupid. Anyway, so yeah, like, dude, I don't know. I mean, it's just like I hate that
they just have all these scrappy guys. Like Jalen Brunson's been playing out of his mind.
Jalen Brunson has played himself into a huge contract just because of what he's done, and he's been amazing. Don't get me wrong. And Spencer Dinwiddie had an awesome game.
Yeah. And then they have like these guys like Max Kleber and Reggie Bullock, and that one game where Dorian Finney-Smith hit like 7 threes. Like they make everybody around them better.
They have like a lot of the old Knicks players. So like they have Reggie Bullock, they have Frank the Tank, who knew Ntilikina, who has sucked always. I'm glad those boys are getting some run in there. I'm glad. I do think that this one we'll get to it in a second with the matchups, but it'll be a tough one with the Warriors. I don't think they match up very well on paper. Also, I love that Devin Booker was like, in the first game he called him like, soft, and then Jalen Brunson, and Jalen Brunson just like shrugs him off because he's also like a tank for how small he is.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so the last one, Warriors, Grizzlies. I felt like once Ja left the series, there was no way they were going to win.
Do you think the Grizzlies win that series if Ja doesn't get hurt?
Interesting point. I don't think they win. I think it'll go to a game 7 if that happened because Ja was playing out of his mind.
Yeah, even in game 5, the Grizzlies blew them out and they didn't have Ja.
That one was okay. The game 5 one was so weird. Like the Warriors put 0 effort into that game at all.
Yeah.
Which is so bizarre.
Yeah, and then even in game 6, it was close until really the fourth quarter. The Grizzlies kept fighting.
I think that the Warriors would have pulled it out. I feel like they've been there before. They've been to these kind of games before. Yeah. I feel like in game 7 they would have pulled it out.
I agree. And Dylan Brooks made a comment that I actually really agree with, is that, yes, the Warriors have their number now and they're, talking all this shit, but I think that the Grizzlies are going to be the team to beat in the next 5 years or so because Steph, is getting older. Clay's getting older. They're still going to keep balling, but like as Draymond and them start to kind of plummet a little bit and, near retirement, the Grizzlies are going to be that up-and-coming team. They're all young guys. Jaren Jackson, Ja, Dylan Brooks, Desmond Bane, not really Steven Adams, but
I love Steven Adams.
Yeah, you cannot love him. Aquaman,
he's literally Jason Momoa.
But they're just a young upcoming team, and they're going to be good year after year.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, and they're so impressive. Ja really makes me not like him, but he really is. I mean, I can't deny how amazing he is. He does do a good gritty. I'm not gonna do it again because of the time that I fell. But
But yeah, I think that the Warriors are just a better team, and at home they're a tough team to beat.
Tough team to
Luca
beat.
will probably continue being Luca, but I just think they just have the better team, better leadership, better coaching. Not to belittle Jason Kidd at all because he's been doing a great job, surprisingly. But I just think this series will be wrapped up in 5, if not 6 games.
You think that the Warriors will be winning in 5?
Yeah, 5 or 6.
Wow. I mean, I think I do agree the Warriors will win, but I think it's going to be closer than that. Who has the home court advantage? Warriors do, right?
Yeah.
So I would say I think it'll be just as bizarre and wrap up in 7. I feel like Game 6 when Mavericks are home, for some reason they'll lose, put in no effort, and then they'll win in 7.
It's possible.
No one has an answer. I would love to see Clay on Doncic, but like Doncic has a substantial weight. Like
anybody who guards him is going to be interesting. If you put, I mean, I doubt.
Wiggins.
I don't know if Wiggins or Draymond, but like,
yeah, Draymond maybe.
just to see Luka and Draymond do the dance will be fun.
Yeah.
That's
gonna be a good one.
Put Clay on Brunson. Now you put Clay on Dinwiddie and then Steph on Brunson. Steph has never really been much of a defensive player, but in that interview yesterday, the guy called him a two-way player. So maybe he builds off of that. But
his face was like,
I think we're gonna see a Warriors versus Heat final. Regardless of, we'll talk about the game, but regardless of Game 1 last night, going into this series, who did you see winning?
I still saw the Heat winning.
You did?
But regardless of Game 1, I thought the Heat have a lot more depth, and the Heat have very good shooters who were just like, truthfully, like against the Sixers, they were off. Like they were missing, like Strus and like whatever it was, Game 4 or something, it had like multiple open shots, missed them all.
Yeah.
That, what's really crazy is Kyle Lowry, they're playing better without him.
They are.
And it's not even close.
Gabe Vincent, who pissed me off the whole Sixers series, has been incredible.
He's been amazing. And he was great against the Sixers. He was great last night.
Yeah.
And Kyle Lowry was not good when they played, I thought. I didn't think when the Sixers played. I didn't think he was that good.
But yeah, just kind of quickly talking about the game last night. I believe in the second quarter, the Celtics were on a run and they were up by like 14 at one point, and then the Heat kind of cut the deficit to about 8 before at halftime. But then in the third quarter, the Heat went on like a 22-2 run. They just took over.
Mm-hmm.
Jimmy Butler couldn't be stopped when he's facilitating to anybody who's out there, whether it's Tyler Hero, Gabe Vincent, PJ Tucker. He just has so many guys who can hit the three, and then it's like Jimmy Butler's not the biggest guy on the court, but somehow he always ends up in the perfect position underneath the basket where either him or Bam's getting the rebound. They just want it more. Yes, the Celtics didn't have Al Horford or Marcus Smart, which makes a big difference, but I'd love to see the series go to 7 games, but after the way Game 1 went, and I really do believe that the Celtics are going to respond in Game 2. I do see them winning Game 2. But at the end of the day, I think the Heat are just a much better team in this series.
I think the Heat are the much better team in the series also. I mean, don't get me wrong, what the Celtics have done, what that coach has put together, considering they were like a 7 seed going into like a month before the playoffs, like even in the beginning of this year, like they were looked at pretty much as a bad team who was rebuilding. And
who, the Knicks?
No, the Knicks are a playoff team. How do they? Okay, quick rant, because I already ranted to you about this, but this needs to be out there. I'm calling to you, Adam Silver, right into the camera. Adam Silver, we know what you did. We know what the NBA is doing to the Knicks. 1985? How is that possible? That they haven't moved up in a draft slot since 1985. That's a joke. Okay, I'm done.
Do you want to quickly, going off of that, talk quickly about the draft lottery last night?
No, it's sadness. Well, the Magic ended up winning the lottery. They had one of the better odds to do that.
Do they take Chet?
That's actually kind of the interesting thing. I think they won't. I think they'll take Jabari Smith.
I agree.
They their thing is kind of interesting though because they have like Jonathan Isaac when he's healthy is a lockdown defender. They have Mo Bamba. They have Cole Anthony, who's been actually like much better than I thought he would be in the NBA.
I think
they still got Markelle Fultz.
I think so. So it's the Magic, Thunder, Rockets, Kings, correct?
It is Magic, Thunder, Rockets, Kings, Pistons, Pacers, Blazers. Did you watch the lottery?
I did not.
Okay, so it's actually really funny because the Blazers were projected to be in the top 5, and because they fell out, the Kings were then top 4, and you could see Domantas Sabonis's face like when Dame hears that the Blazers are number 7. He's like, and then Domantas Sabonis is looking at the camera like, because the Kings somehow won the 4th pick, and I do mean one, but don't worry, the Knicks. I was basically shitting my pants. I was like, okay, here's the thing. The Knicks, I don't really understand the lottery system. It's really weird to me. It's very confusing. So basically, for the Knicks, they were slotted in at number 11. They could go down as far as 13, and they couldn't be number 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, but they could be 4-1. I don't know why that is. So when the Knicks weren't 13, when they weren't 12, I was like, oh my God, the Knicks might have a chance. But they didn't because the NBA is rigged. You heard me, Adam Silver. Anyway, so the Magic.
I think the Thunder take Chet to add to another big white dude like Pogačevski and Josh Giddey.
Josh Giddey is great. And yeah, the Kings, I'm sure, will add another point guard because they do it every year, even though they have a bazillion point guards. So I'm sure they'll pick Jaden Ivey. That's the only thing that makes sense for them after taking Tyrese Halliburton, Davion Mitchell, Fox all at the same time. Then trading Tyrese Halliburton. They're so dumb. What a terribly run franchise. The Pistons are going to be really interesting too. I don't really know. I don't know enough about the draft picks yet. I will, but
yeah, you will.
I will. I've been so focused on. We'll get a JumpStart Sports NBA mock draft out here too.
Yeah, as off as we were on our NFL one, we can't be any worse with basketball.
Well, at least we know that like 1 through 3 we might get right.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm calling it right now. Chet to the Thunder.
Oh, and Paolo to the Rockets.
Yeah.
That'd be a really good fit for him, actually. They were really good towards the end of the year, the Rockets.
Yeah, they were. The other team, and they actually were a playoff team, but like this, I was thinking of the Spurs, who were a good team. A lot of young guys.
Yeah, the Spurs are interesting. DeJounte Murray has been, transformed into such a good player. But yeah, so we'll see. My guess for the Knicks, my really hot guess in May 18th, 2022 for the NBA draft, rather, Dyson Daniels out of the G League Ignite. Keep an eye out.
Oh.
We need a point guard, and he could be a good reserve for us.
And then the last thing I want to say before we put a bow tie on this episode, Jay, is Monty Williams, deserved Coach of the Year, leading the Suns to their best record in franchise history, I believe it was. And then
I have one more thing to say after this too.
And then as upset as I was at Embiid not getting MVP, it just like was inevitable. Like
Yeah.
in the voting, he wasn't even close to Jokic. And even though I was pissed about that, the one thing that made me laugh was in Serbia when he was got presented the award or found out about it when he was on that bike. He was getting pulled in like a wagon or something, and he was just like twice the size of it. And it's just classic Jokic, just being a goofball. Um, you can't not like the guy. I mean, except when he shoves people like Markeith. Was it Marcus Morris or Markeith Morris? It was one of the Morris brothers. He shoved.
I think it was Marcus.
He probably deserved it though. But
Marcus probably deserved it.
anyways, congratulations to Jokic.
Yeah,
Whatever.
congratulations.
Now I'm rooting for him to get 3 in a row because that'd be pretty cool.
That would be cool. The Triple Crown. I do want to say one more thing unrelated to sports. I think we should just talk about it. I mean, just really quick, and then I think this should be the last time we talk about it. But I just want to say my thoughts and prayers go out to the people of Buffalo. What a tragic and horrible event that was completely found upon racism. It shouldn't be condoned. It's super horrible and wrong and messed up. And this world is so cruel to these innocent people. Love your neighbor is what I'd say. As it's just so mind blowing to me that stuff like this continues to happen.
Yeah, it's a lot of it's just like gun control laws, and I don't know. Something I'm curious about, Jay, is just not that they're the same thing because they're both equally as bad. One was more, one's a hate crime, and the other one was police brutality. But like everything that transpired after the George Floyd death and all the protests and everything that came with it, this was a racially motivated hate crime.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just surprised, like, that the country didn't kind of like unite together again and do a big like protest. I don't know. Just when something big like this happens, everyone needs to kind of come together and their voice needs to be heard so that people know the severity of this. Because like this is another incident where you think about all the other shootings, Sandy Hook, the one in Pittsburgh, you can name them all. It's another thing that happens and it just feels like nothing's been done to prevent it. And the worst part about it is this kid had like past history of issues and yet he still managed to obtain a gun, and it just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. Without getting political, I mean, I just think that the gun laws are actually a joke. I really do believe that. I don't understand how people like this can continue getting assault rifles and whatever, like any type of gun. Even if you have a license, like they do a thorough background check, maybe. Like Jesus Christ. It makes me so angry. But yeah, I just felt like we needed.
It's scary too because it's just like it makes you feel like you can't leave your house. These 11 innocent people who passed, and the other 2 who got injured, just went to Tops to do their Saturday grocery shopping. And like little they know that some psychopath's going to come in and gun them down. It's just it makes you scared. Like you have to just kind of go on and live your life. But after all these incidences, it's like it makes you scared that you can't ever leave your house.
Yeah, and obviously, like we say that from a place of privilege, and we don't know what it's like to be someone of color, but something that we do know and people don't really talk about or care about is we as Jews, both of us, also deal with hate all the time, and no one talks about it everywhere. Yeah, no one ever talks about that kind of stuff, and I feel like that also gets pushed under the rug. And it's not like one is better than the other; they're both horrible. But from that perspective, we understand that because that also happened in New York, where people were there were tons of hate crimes that were happening just because of the Israel-Palestine wars, which no one knew about, which no one actually knew about, and people were getting harassed, beaten, killed just because they were Jewish. And I feel like that was just swept under the rug. No one talked about it ever again. And it's important to talk about these kind of things and bring light to this because it's wrong and you should love your neighbor. And, It's just so what a fucked up world. Excuse my language, but
I think everything goes hand in hand too, just with how things are kind of. You feel like you take one step forward, but then you take two giant steps backwards with like progress and things, and like everything that recently has happened, I think has like in a way just like a domino effect on each other, and it all goes hand in hand just with like everything that happened with Roe v. Wade, everything that happens with gun control laws, could have an effect on anti-Semitism, could have effect on um, you know just race of any kind, black and white, anything. It just things have gotten a lot better compared to the past, but at the same time, they're still bad. It's still bad.
Yeah,
Still
but
very bad.
I just wanted to make sure we touched on that. Can't imagine what grief like that is like, but we're thinking about the people in Buffalo. I really love that Josh Allen also said something about it. I thought that was cool.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, and on that depressing note, we hope that you like, comment, and subscribe. We'll have much more content coming your way as well shortly. And
Sounds good. Another great episode, Jay. Please like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time on JumpStart Sports.